Hello, I'm Lieutenant Tina Jones, Tinajones. I'm the PIO for the Portland Police Bureau. This morning at about 9:43 a.m., Central Precinct officers responded to a disturbance call at 1331 Northwest Lovejoy Street. This is a multi-use building, including a parking garage. When officers arrived, they located a male and a female in a stairwell in that building, and there was an altercation. Officers attempted to communicate with the male, who initially was reported to have been armed with a knife and was threatening to have an explosive device. During the encounter, less lethal munitions were deployed, as well as lethal force. Officers requested medical attention, but prior to medical arriving on scene, the suspect was determined to be deceased. The suspect is a male, and the female, who was also in the stairwell, appeared to be injured when officers initially made contact. She was provided medical attention and was taken to an area hospital for treatment. None of the involved officers have any injuries. This is a significant investigation and incident, and it's early on. There's a lot of questions that we will be looking to try and get answers for, and we'll be providing updates as we have those available.
Do you know who this suspect is?
We're working on trying to confirm identification at this time. We'll be working with the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office to determine that, and then once next of kin are notified, we'll be able to provide that information to the public.
Did the man and woman know each other? Do we know that much?
That is information that we would be looking to determine in the investigation.
Well, what happened that caused police to use lethal force? What did the suspect do?
It's early in the investigation, and we still have not had the opportunity to interview all of the involved officers. And so we'll be looking into what they saw, what they heard, what they knew, and what led them to make the decisions that they made as part of the investigation. It's too early at this time for us to, try and jump to conclusions about any of that.
How many officers fired?
I don't have that information yet at this time. We still haven't interviewed everybody.
So can we even say that he's armed or not? Were we able to confirm whether or not he had any sort of explosive device at all?
So we did have the explosive disposal unit arrive at the scene, and they cleared the area and determined that there was not an explosive device, and the public is safe.
And did you guys recover a knife?
I don't have that information at this time, but as we have information that I can confirm, I would put that out. The initial report that the officers had when they responded was that the subject was armed with a knife and was threatening to have an explosive device.
But we don't know whether he actually had one or not.
I'm not able to comment further on anything related to that at this time, but as I have information, I would provide it as it's available.
How many officers responded initially?
I don't-
When the shooting happened?
I don't know how many officers were on scene or responded initially at this time.
Is that woman considered like a hostage? That's one term we've heard thrown around here outside.
Certainly that's something that we'd be looking at, what the circumstances were. We have to interview people who are involved, and again, it's really early in the investigation, even though it's been a couple of hours, and so we still have a lot of information to gather, and it's really important that we don't jump to conclusions.
What floor of the parking garage did this happen on? Was it in a stairwell? Was it near cars?
It was in the stairwell, and I'm not able to say which floor at this time.
And it was in the stairwell in this Joy building here?
In the Lovejoy building, yes.
Was there ever anything having to do with Safeway other than the fact that it's just also in the same building?
I don't have any information that connects it to a specific business or in that building at all at this time.
Why was the building evacuated?
So, given the circumstances, with the report of a possible explosive device, we would take all precautions to make sure that the public is safe, and until we can verify otherwise, evacuating a building is not an uncommon measure if we're concerned about whether or not there's an explosive possibly.
Can you tell us if the man was in any sort of like mental health crisis at the time of this, and that's why he maybe had someone or maybe claimed to have had a knife or an explosive device?
I don't have information about the mental state of the involved at this time, any of the involved. And again, we're looking to interview a lot of people. So we don't have all the answers yet, but those are really good questions that our investigators will be trying to determine.
Did the behavioral health unit respond to this today?
Not that I am aware of, no.
Is there something more complex about this investigation as opposed to other officer-involved shootings? We usually get briefings within an hour, 45 minutes. We've all been out here for about 4.5 hours.
There's a lot of complexities that go into what information we're able to confirm and release. And given that this incident also was reportedly involving explosive devices, that adds a layer of complexity. So, we try and provide information as soon as we're able to and as transparent a manner as we're able to, but we also have to balance the investigative needs in the world that we live in with the way that people can get information or news, and it's readily available. We want to hold information that may taint the investigation so that it doesn't potentially influence any potential witnesses or grand jury members, things like that. And so we have to be very careful in the timing of what information we release when and making sure that it's accurate.
Can you describe the injuries to the woman involved?
I don't have the details on her injuries at this time.
Serious enough to go to the hospital though? Like, are we talking life-threatening or just?
I don't have a, sorry, allergies here. I don't have a degree of her injuries, but she is in the in an area hospital. So. Excuse me? I'm not really sure how I can answer that question, sir.
Can you tell us what the first report that came in?
Sure. So officers responded to a report of a disturbance in the building that I mentioned, and reported that a man allegedly had a knife and was threatening to have an explosive device.
Is the Safeway back open now?
I don't have that information, actually. I don't know if the crime scene encapsulated that or not, so.
Do you know
I expect investigators will still be here for several more hours, and I am anticipating having a further briefing later or information that goes out via press release, hopefully after we're able to interview a number of the people involved. So I know there's a lot of questions, and we certainly want to have those answered, and we'd love to push out more information. We just have to balance the timing of that.
Do you know why the mayor and police chief came out here?
They usually come to all of the officer-involved shootings. These are very dynamic and complex events that impact the community, anyone who's involved with any of the, people who are involved, whether they're witnesses or suspects or victims, and certainly the police as well. These are very impactful events all the way around. So, I think as elected and appointed leaders, that they feel the value in coming out and being at the scene. So I appreciate all of your time, and hopefully we'll have some more additional information later on today that we can get to you. And we'll be pushing that press release out that has those specifics in it. So thank you.
Thank you.